So today we are going to be breaking down what might just be one of the most critical, legal, and strategic moves we've seen in digital music for a very long time.
Oh, this is a big one. This really sets the stage for the next decade of AI in music.
I'm talking about the landmark partnership between Warner Music Group, WMG, and the generative AI platform Suno. And this isn't just, another standard deal. This feels like the moment a major label formally pivots.
Right, they're moving away from just fighting AI in court, that endless litigation.
Exactly, and moving toward a system of, mandated licensing.
What's so fascinating to me here is the tension. I mean, on the surface, okay, it settles a massive copyright lawsuit that's been hanging over Suno since the middle of 2024.
It gives them a path forward, a way to compensate artists.
It does. But when you really start to peel back the layers of PR spin, it feels less like a cooperative agreement and, a lot more like a corporate takeover.
Or maybe an expensive corporate baptism, as you put it before, laundering the past. And that's exactly what we need to unpack for you today. We're looking at two completely different stories. First, you've got the official WMG victory narrative. It's all about legitimacy, compensation, expanding revenue for artists.
And then you have the industry pros perspective, the creator community's view, which sees this as pure strong-arm tactics. They see it as a way to control the market, to farm users, and to basically throttle any real competition before it gets too disruptive.
So our mission today is to lay out both sides. And crucially, we have to compare this outcome to the settlement that Universal Music Group, UMG, just made with its rival AI service, Udio.
Yeah, because the Udio deal, that really set a brutal baseline for what surrender looks like. The Suno deal shows how a, multi-billion-dollar startup managed to claw back a few concessions, even under all that pressure.
Okay, let's start there. Let's start with WMG's official victory story, the one championed by their CEO, Robert Kinkle. He's all over the place calling this deal groundbreaking, a victory for the creative community that benefits everyone.
Of course he is. But is the goal really compensation? Or is the strategy here about eliminating a threat and building a profitable closed ecosystem?
I mean, it has to be both, right?
It's both, but the motivation is absolutely control. This is Kinkle's publicly stated strategy in action. The 3 Ls: legislate, litigate, license.
Right. I remember that.
They've lobbied for AI laws, that's legislate.
Mm-hmm.
They used a lawsuit to back Suno into a corner, that's litigate. And now this deal is the final L, license. It's the playbook executed perfectly.
And in doing so, they established WMG and by extension the other major labels as the mandatory gatekeepers for this technology in the US.
That's the end game.
So if they're building this new structured ecosystem, what are the actual concrete changes they're selling to the public?
Well, the biggest one is about the training data. Suno is going to launch new, more advanced and licensed models in 2026. So the current models, the ones that WMG said were trained on, stolen data scraped from the web.
The ones everyone is using right now.
Exactly. Those will be deprecated, phased out completely. So going forward, all the training data will be sanctioned, accounted for, and paid for. That is a massive structural win for the labels.
And what about for the artists? Because that's the heart of their legitimacy argument.
The big public-facing win here is what they're calling explicit opt-in control. WMG artists and songwriters get to choose if their name, their image, their voice, their compositions are used.
Okay, so they have a choice, in theory.
In theory. And WMG claims this whole new framework is designed to expand revenue for creators, promising new money from things like fan interactions or even leasing out AI models.
It really sounds like they're just trying to monetize the inevitable instead of fighting the technology itself. And speaking of strategy, there was this little detail in the footnotes of the announcement that really jumped out at me. Suno is buying Songkick.
Yes, WMG's concert discovery platform.
Why would a generative AI company want a concert discovery platform? That seems like a strange fit.
It's a huge tell. It shows this deal goes way beyond just licensing some master recordings. It's about capturing the entire music value chain. Think about it. Suno handles the creation of the music. Songkick handles the discovery, the marketing, and the ultimate monetization. Live ticket sales.
Ah, so they control the loop. From the AI prompt all the way to the arena stage.
It's the whole loop.
Yeah.
They blend the interactive music creation with live events. They own the tool and how its output is consumed.
Suddenly that victory for the creative community line sounds a lot more like a victory for the corporate value chain.
Precisely.
Okay, so let's get to that crucial comparison. WMG settled with Suno just a week after UMG settled with Udio. This is where you, as a user, really start to see the new rules of the road being written. How bad was the Udio deal?
It was devastating. And that's why the Suno deal looks better, but only by comparison. In the Udio settlement, UMG forced Udio to claim total ownership of everything users generated. And, the real killer, they made them remove all download functionality. Everyone.
All downloads, even for paying customers.
Gone. It basically neutered any commercial potential for anything made on Udio overnight. You couldn't get your music off the platform.
Wow. And Suno managed to avoid that fate?
They did. WMG didn't demand a total removal of downloads. Paid Suno users will still have them, though with new monthly caps. And more importantly, the Suno Studio subscribers, the pro users, they get to keep their unlimited downloads.
So for an independent creator, that's a huge difference. It looks like a, quote, far healthier outcome than Udio's total surrender. At least you can keep making and selling your work.
For now, yes, under much tighter restrictions.
It's a dark way to look at it, but are you saying Udio basically got the worst deal possible so that Suno, a much bigger company, could look good in comparison?
That's exactly the interpretation in the creator community. It's the one kick in the nuts is better than two scenario. Suno was a bigger target with more money and more leverage. And there's some strong speculation that Suno's own CEO saw Udio's move claiming ownership and blocking downloads as possibly illegal against their own users.
So that gave them leverage to push back against WMG and say, we can't do that. We have to let our paying customers keep their downloads.
Exactly. They had to keep their subscribers happy. Udio gave them a very low bar to clear to look like the good guys in this.
But even with that small win on downloads, the cynical view from actual producers and musicians is still incredibly negative. I mean, the lawsuit alleged the Suno's model was built on illegal copying, that they spent almost nothing on training data, suggesting just massive unauthorized scraping.
That's right. And that context leads directly to the strongest criticism you hear, which is that this whole settlement is just laundering theft into legitimacy.
Explain that.
The view is this isn't a new beginning. It's WMG giving Suno a retroactive license to monetize the theft that already happened. It's WMG taking control over AI models that were trained on data stolen from the entire music world, including thousands of independent artists who have no connection to WMG.
And that brings us to the biggest fear for independent users, the ownership shift. What's expected to happen in 2026 with the new models?
This is the real hook. The strong speculation is that the new terms of service will completely change who owns the music. Independent users will likely lose full copyright control over what they create. Instead, WMG is expected to claim 100% ownership of the master recording and the publishing.
100%. So what does the user get?
They get a commercial license. Essentially, you become a contract worker for WMG without a contract.
So what does that mean in practice? If I create a hit song on Suno in 2026, who gets paid?
Well, right now, you'd own the master and the publishing 100%. You get all the money. Under this new system, you get caught in a royalty trap. You can still release and monetize the song, but the fear is that WMG will demand a huge portion, maybe an 80-20 or even 90-10 split in their favor.
Just for providing the AI tool.
For providing the licensed AI tool, you won't be able to register your own copyright or collect your royalties without cutting WMG in for a massive slice of the pie.
So you become an unwitting WMG artist.
That's the term going around. You're technically independent, but economically, you're completely tied to the major label's terms. It's a genius way for them to control this new wave of music production without signing anyone.
And let's circle back to that opt-in for WMG's own artists. If WMG already owns the masters for, say, Coldplay or Ed Sheeran, and the tech can already copy styles, the imitation has already happened. So is this opt-in a real choice, or is there pressure behind the scenes?
The choice is often an illusion when there's that much money and pressure involved. The concern is that WMG will just strongly incentivize its biggest artists to opt in.
Why would they do that?
Because if an artist doesn't opt in, their style could still be replicated by other platforms, maybe open source models. By opting in, WMG gets to control the official AI version of that artist. They manage the cannibalization and make sure all that revenue flows through their licensed system. It's about owning the inevitable before it replaces your talent completely.
Okay, let's look forward to that 2026 deadline. The current models trained on everything on the internet are being deprecated. They'll be replaced by new models trained on licensed data.
Yeah.
What does that do to the actual quality and creativity of the music?
This is the big worry for a lot of longtime users. The current Suno models are wild. They were trained on this huge, chaotic, global library of music, Indonesian folk, obscure German techno, everything. That chaos is what leads to surprising creative results.
But the new model will be trained mostly, or maybe even exclusively, on WMG's catalog.
Exactly. And while WMG's catalog is massive, it's also curated. It's mostly commercially successful Western music. The fear is that if you replace a diverse, chaotic training set with a clean, legal, but much more homogeneous one, the models will just get dumber, less inventive, less varied.
So you trade creative range for legal safety.
That's the cost of legitimacy. You sacrifice diversity for compliance.
And practically, the new limits, no downloads for free users, caps for paid users, that's clearly to stop the flood of low-effort AI tracks on Spotify. But it also hurts the little guy, doesn't it? The hobbyist, the experimenter.
It absolutely does. The labels saw thousands of AI tracks hitting streaming services every day, and they had to stop the bleeding. But the collateral damage is the creator who used the free tier to learn, or the hobbyist who just enjoyed making music. This deal basically says that in the regulated U.S. market, AI music creation is a paid, licensed activity, not a free open experiment.
So when we zoom out, what does this all mean for you, the listener, and for where music tech is heading?
I think we're left with two realities that are kind of hard to reconcile. On one hand, WMG's playbook worked. They forced a multi-billion-dollar startup to the table and won a huge victory for the idea of a legitimate music industry where data is paid for, the label's centralized control.
But on the other hand, that victory came at a real cost. The cost was independent creator, autonomy, and ownership. The chaos of the early days is being replaced by the rigid control of a label system. So the key takeaway for you is this stark choice you now face in the US. You can work inside the major labels' controlled, licensed, AI walled garden. But if you do, you almost certainly give up full ownership and a massive chunk of your royalties. Or you have to look elsewhere.
You have to look at open source alternatives being built outside of this entire framework.
Yeah.
And that really brings us to the final provocative question, doesn't it? The 3 L's, legislate, litigate, license. They seem to have locked down the US market. So will the next generation of truly disruptive, truly free AI music just emerge somewhere else? Maybe the UK or China, where data mining laws are different?
A place where the technology develops permanently outside of the major labels' control.
Exactly. And if that happens, what price is the industry really willing to pay to maintain control over something that is, by its nature, becoming